Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. It's good to be here.
Last time we spoke, we were looking at the impact of the mining strike on manufacturing. Then we have PMI coming out today, suggesting the sector still in contraction. Just how weak is manufacturing going into the strike?
Manufacturing is about as weak now as it was at its worst point after the 2008 financial crisis. Now, just to put that into perspective, prior to that crisis, manufacturing employed 2 million people in South Africa. Today, we employ around 1.65 million people. We lost 350,000 jobs in the sector. People should be under no illusions that jobs will be lost as a result of this strike and as a result of the platinum strike that we saw earlier this year.
So describe which companies are affected directly, and then there's said to be these ripple effects that will affect the whole manufacturing sector.
Yes. Look, at the moment, all the companies that were affected by the platinum sector strike, so that would be mining equipment companies, it would be across the board, because remember, there were also 10 billion rands of wages lost, so retailers are not purchasing from manufacturing. It's everything from leather, footwear, etc. onwards. The mines at the moment are taking time to get back to full production. There are some estimates that say it may even take up to a year for the mines to be back up to speed. Now we have this strike, which really impacts directly the steel and engineering industries. They employ around 330,000 people. 2/3 of them are going on strike now. And it's a 335 billion rand industry. That's a turnover. That's a turnover per annum. So, as you can imagine, the impact will be quite significant. It's not only those factories that are not producing, but they are also not procuring inputs. They are not procuring packaging materials, etc. For instance. So it will be, again, economy-wide, and we will see a continuation of the contraction that we saw in the first quarter.
So you are definitely expecting that?
Yes, well, manufacturing is in recession. If it's not technically in recession, it's just because we haven't got the figures down on a piece of paper yet. But from what we see, it's been a couple of months now where you have industries that are dependent on waste for their production processes that are not getting enough waste in, which means that consumption's way down in the economy. And it's going to have impacts with regards to employment.
So what about the claim of Numsa, and you heard the interview earlier, that this is a sector that hasn't transformed? We're hearing that from workers across the country, that it's colonial, it's still linked to apartheid times, and workers really need to push for a decent wage.
Look, I don't think that there are many people outside of Numsa that believe that this strike is really about the legacy of colonialism, that it is about wages to the degree that Numsa now says it is. The signs are there that it's political. I listened to an economist the other night doing a presentation to the manufacturing circle who said 85% politics, 15% wages. And we tend to agree with that. But are low
wages a problem? Do you see that perspective?
Productivity is a problem versus the wages that are being paid in this sector, and unfortunately the commitment of Numsa to productivity is shocking.
Why don't more companies, and this I'd really like to ask you, involve workers, more share schemes, motivating workers, and then Numsa could not come in here and say, well, nobody shares with us in the boom times.
There are a number of companies that engage in share schemes and so on already. But, you know, this is not about paying workers more just because there is more to go around. It's also about having to earn what you get paid. So you need to be productive. We need to show that we earn what we pay, or otherwise investors are going to take their money. They're going to economies where there is more production in exchange for the resources that they part with. So I think that is very important, something we must remember, and also that there are very many people out there who are not employed and must also be accommodated in the economy. That is part of what happens when there is the boom times. More people go into jobs. As a result of this strike, more people will go out of jobs. 10 billion rands in wages already lost this year that hasn't been paid. More losses will result of this strike.
All right, we appreciate your time this evening. Coenraad Bezuidenhout from the Manufacturing Circle. Moving